All right, so good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to have you. We thought we would start off with little introductions so that you could learn a little something about each of us, just very brief. So what we'd like to know is what your name is, where you work, what you hope to get out of this workshop, and just a little fun fact about yourself. So John and I will kick it off, and then we'll play the tag method of tagging the next person, and everyone's name is in their box. So when you finish, you just tag the next person. So my name is Cheryl Stevens, even though all of you know me. I'm from Thrive Coaching LLC, where I passionately inspire transformation. What I hope to get from this workshop today is to witness all of you really being present and more aware and mindful of where you are, and tips and strategies to really seize opportunities in front of you. A fun fact about me is that I love to host afternoon tea. And, I actually have come from a family of tea lovers where we have, really good quality, fresh, loose tea. And I host tea and have friends over, and we wear tea hats, and I make sandwiches and scones and clotted cream and listen to nice music. And depending on the group, sometimes we may even throw a little champagne and some other nice spirit in there. But it's just something fun in what sometimes is an uncivilized world. It makes it very civilized, and I enjoy it. So I'm going to tag John to introduce himself.
I want to get invited to tea.
And you must hold your pinky finger up, John.
Deal, got it. So good morning, everybody. My name is John Nerrill. I'm from John Nerrill Coaching LLC. I help mid-career professionals prepare, position, and promote who they are and what they do so they can show up to find a job they love or love the job they have. Cheryl and I met through our coaching certification program and just struck up a really wonderful friendship and working relationship and everything. So what I'm hoping to get out of this seminar is to be able to, along with Cheryl, just facilitate some great discussions for you all over the next 3 sessions in terms of how you choose to define what it means for you to show up in your work and also in your life as well, because I don't think we can really separate the two, and the strategies certainly go across both spectrums in that regard. So one fun fact that I want to share with you is that I am a professional bowler. And back in 2010, I won a title on the PBA regional tour. I also have 4 second place finishes. And so starting on Friday, I am out for the next 5 weekends out on tour bowling with the PBA and just get to love it. And now that I am a little bit over 50, it's like being a rookie all over again. And I'm having the most fun I've ever had throwing a bowling ball. So there you go. All right, so to keep the tagging going, I'm going to tag Angela.
All right, good morning. My name is Angela DeLuger. I am with the Department of Transportation. I work in a group called the Federal Transit Administration. I've been there for just over 10 years. And the mission that I work on there is the safety mission, and I'm a 2nd level supervisor. Let's see, interest out of work. Right now I have school age children, so 4 and 6. So one of the things I'm trying to do while I show up is be present. I feel a little bit in the current environment. Like I'm sort of a little bit here, a little bit there, and being in a virtual environment sort of feeds that. So I want to sort of step back and be more present professionally. And then when I'm doing, activities with the kids, more present there. So that's one of the things I'll be working on in this. And fun fact, probably I grew up in Alaska and finished high school there. So I have lots of good, crazy memories from Alaska and still love camping and outdoor stuff to this day. And with that, I'll tag Beta, or I don't know if I pronounced your name right. I apologize.
Perfectly well.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody.
morning.
I'm Bita Nakai. I work for National Institute on Aging. I am in the scientific review branch of Aging Institute, and I've been there for 18 years. And for the past 2 years, I've become a supervisor, and I've become the section chief for basic and translational sciences. Do you hear me? Because I just got a notification that my internet is low, or I have this problem all the time at working from home. I hate working from home. Yes, so about what I would like to get out of this workshop is to be able to show up better at work, at home, with friends, and let's see how it goes. I am really interested to learn more, and I think this is a great opportunity for me. And I did not know you do tea, Cheryl. I would have driven to Delaware in no time. Fun fact, I don't know which one should I talk about, because I have several different crazy activities and loves of my life. Cycling is one. I just did a fundraising ride in Pennsylvania, which I hated because there were so many hills up and down, to raise money for veterans. That's one fun fact about me. I love to throw parties. And I just informed my family we have 15 people coming for dinner on Friday, and everybody gets scared because I'm a good manager. I tell people what to do and I assign them, and it's like we do a lot of dinners and stuff like that. So that's one. And if anybody needs to get travel hints, I love to travel. And Italy is my most important country. So if anybody wants to go to Italy, I can guide you. I can give you a lot of travel hints. In my future life, I think I have decided to become a travel agent. Probably that will be really, really my next niche. Anyway, and I'm going to tag Amanda.
Hi, you're a hard act to follow. That was so engaging. I'm Amanda Vogel. I work at NCATS, the National Center for Advancing Translational Sciences. So we have some overlap. I've been there for 2 years, but before that I was at National Cancer Institute at NIH for 10 years. Let's see, I'm a scientist and I'm not officially a supervisor, but I lead a lot of science teams with overlapping members. This sounds so cheesy, but in terms of what I want to get out of this, I just did the pre-work this morning and I just wrote down what I want to get out of this is to live my best life. I mean, the pre-work is all about identifying what are the pathways that are going to get you to the most professional and personal happiness. So I'm just going to go with live my best life. That's my goal. No pressure, Cheryl and John. Fun fact is we're fostering a dog for a year, which was, so my daughter's desperately wanted a dog. She's left us notes around the house for a year. And my husband has desperately not wanted a dog. So we agreed to have a dog for a year. And we are all in love with him. We've had him for 6 weeks and now we're already looking at how we get a dog when the 10 months are over, when the fostering period's over. And he might show up while we're on the call. He's like a big teddy bear, but then, you know, he opens his mouth and it's like a crocodile in there. He's got two things going on at once.
Amanda, who do you
Okay. Oh,
tag?
I tagged someone, right. I'll tag Jennifer.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer. I pulled over, so I'm not driving. Just in case you're wondering. So I work at FDA, and I've been at FDA for 6 years. And before that, I was at, I had my own company for 4 years. And then before that, I worked at CMS for 14 years. I would like to get out of this to learn more about the 6 different steps for showing up, because in my coaching sessions with Cheryl, showing up was something that I didn't know what terminology to use. I just tried to explain it. She's like, oh, that's called showing up. And I'm like, oh, that's what I want to do better. And so I kind of already knew I wanted to do it, but I didn't know how to do it or really what that meant. And when she read off the wording that John uses, I'm like, yes, that's it. So I wrote those down, and they've been hanging on my monitor for, I don't know, Cheryl, maybe a couple of months. And so I just want to learn more about them, because that's what I want to do. That's what I want to focus on in terms of being a better me professionally. Fun fact. I just 2 weeks ago moved to North Carolina from the DC, Maryland area. And I live next in Pinehurst, which is where all the professional golfers come. And it's like I don't know, one of the opens or whatever is here. So it's like Golf Central down here. And of course I don't golf. So that's always fun, but it's very pretty, and I'm just getting used to life in North Carolina. So that's it for me. And I'm on my mobile phone. So let me look at the participants. Beta, is that? Let me see. Who else is left?
Megan.
We did.
It's
Megan.
Megan. I think I'm the last one to go. Yeah.
Okay, go for it, Megan.
Sure. Thanks, Jennifer. So my name is Megan Blum. I work at FTA, just like Angela. And I'm actually the director for the Office of Environmental Programs. So that's my focus area. And I'm a first level supervisor with a fairly small team, I guess. But we do a lot of work for the agency regarding environmental initiatives and ensuring everybody's doing what they're supposed to in the environmental realm for our public transportation projects. One thing I'm hoping to get out of this seminar is showing up with more confidence. I'd really like for our program or our office to be thought of instead of kind of forgotten about at times. So I feel like if I can show up with more confidence, I can help make that happen and help the team just be more present overall in the agency. And then one fun fact about myself is that we like to go camping with the tent and the campfire and the whole 9 yards, making our meals at the campfire. So that's something we look forward to. My husband and my 2 children. So I have 2 girls, and one's turning 13 tomorrow, one's 10, and we've turned it kind of into an annual camping adventure. So that's fun. But Beta, I wrote your name down because we're hoping to go to Italy next summer. So I'm definitely going to reach out to you for those tips.
Absolutely. I just got back last week.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Well, thank you, everyone. Working with all of you, I've learned some new things today. So I knew Beta was an avid traveler, but I didn't know some of these other facts that were fun facts. So thank you, everyone, for sharing. So before we get into how we're going to spend today, I want to go over some ground rules, because ground rules are really important to know how we're playing this game. So let's talk about some ground rules. And if there's something that John and I have not included, please speak up if you feel it's an important ground rule. So the first thing is we just ask that everyone be present and mindful, and to please turn off any other distractions, looking at email and things of that sort. And it's a little harder when you have Zoom in terms of, not everyone speaking at the same time, but if you start to speak and someone else, just one person speak at a time, so that we give each person that courtesy and attention. We love to challenge ideas, but just not the people who are presenting them. So challenging ideas is absolutely fine. Also, with enthusiasm and wanting to get to whatever point we want to get to here, we want to just make sure that we all share airspace and that no one takes over the airspace, that we just respectfully give everyone time to speak. And all of us are on a different leadership journey, so just embrace that and respect that. And of course, be open and welcome to new ideas and opportunities. And John, is there anything I have forgotten to mention?
No, you covered them all, Cheryl, and I did post them in the chat for everybody, so you have them to also take a look at. It's really just to help us play full out in this space for today and the next two sessions. And so we just want to ask, is there any other ground rule or norm that we have not shared so far that would be helpful for you in terms of making this experience as best as it can be? And if there is, just kindly go ahead and share it.
No.
All right.
I guess one thing is, probably what we discuss here stays here.
Confidentiality.
And that's probably,
Yes.
so that's probably, unstated. I think we're all on the same page, but I'll go ahead and say, what happens in our sessions stays here.
Thank you. As coaches, it's part of our DNA. We have, everything we do is about confidentiality, but that's certainly worth mentioning and putting it out there so that you feel comfortable, and everyone else in participating also respects that. So thank you, Angela, for adding that. Anyone else? No? Okay, so let's go on and talk about just quickly an overview of what this will look like, not just for today, but for all three of the sessions. So for today, we're going to discuss owning where you are. And oh my God,
Welcoming new opportunities.
Thank you. I just had like
I got you. We're good.
Mine just went shh. Yes. So basically, we're going to go over the 6 strategies. So those two today, and then the next session, we're going to talk about setting ground rules, which is what we just sort of did right now, but we'll talk about it obviously in more detail. And then having intentional conversations. So these are all part of the 6 strategies. And then the last session will be using your genius and promoting and protecting your brand. So John would like to talk a little bit about why we changed the order, because it doesn't align exactly with show up.
Yeah, it doesn't align with the acronym, and it's a question that often comes up a lot. And when I was writing the book and putting the strategies together, it was a great way to help put a personal meaning behind what show up stands for me. What I have often found in the work that I do with my clients, though, is that everything has to start from ownership, right? To really do that self-assessment and take a look exactly at where you are in this moment that is based upon all of your experiences and events that have happened bring all of us into this seminar right now at this moment. And so to really do the work around showing up, we have to own where we are, right? So that's why we start at this point. It's why you had the pre-work that you did, was just to get a sense of like, let me just pause for a moment and breathe. And let me just self-assess for a little while exactly where I'm at this moment. And from that, then comes the opportunity to welcome anything else that may come along. The 6 strategies are woven throughout so much. And I can only imagine that in your work with Cheryl, that there are times when you will find yourself maybe focusing on one or focusing on more than one at a given time. So it's under this umbrella of how we show up that the 6 strategies exist, but we're going to jump right into the ownership piece. The other thing I did want to mention is we all have a private Facebook group as part of this experience. So it is where the recordings will be stored, and you'll have it there. We also want to use it as a place for discussion in between the sessions. So when you walk away from today's session, there's going to be a lot of stuff mulling around in your head that you may want to discuss, or you may want to share. You have a thought or a takeaway or an aha. Go ahead and post that in the Facebook group, and then collectively we can all just be in there and keeping the conversation going in between the sessions. So you have that as well too. And it is a private Facebook group. People cannot join it without us or Cheryl or me accepting them into it, and they cannot see the content that's in there because it is a private group. So you have that.
And John, you're posting that in the chat?
I can do that, yes.
Well, in terms of people joining that Facebook group.
Yeah, I think did it go out in an email? If it did not, there's no worry. I will get the link and do that right now.
Okay. Well, you can do it later.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Stay focused.
Yeah. Yeah. All this talk about being present.
Right, exactly. Okay. So Cheryl, we want to just jump right into the own where you are piece.
Sure.
What else we missed?
So, I think this is around the place where we want to hear from each one of you in terms of what is working well for you right now. Owning where you are is so important, because sometimes we kind of go through life and we're not really being, as present or mindful as we could and should be, and things may happen and we're not really totally taking, I'm going to use the big word, responsibility for where we are and how we're showing up. So we thought this would be a good place where we ask each one of you, and we'll start with, we'll do it in a tagging kind of way again, for each one of you to talk about what is working really well for you right now. And this is probably you're drawing from some of your pre-work. So I tag Jennifer to start.
Okay. So what exactly do you want me to talk about?
The question is, just talk about one thing that's working really well for you right now, and what it is and why it's working well. And then you can just tag the next person. We just want to hear.
I'm trying to think what I wrote. I have to pull up the document, see what I wrote, because I did it 2 days ago. I think off the top of my head, what I probably wrote was I'm balancing work and life pretty well right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that is because I changed jobs. I recognized I was in a job that probably wasn't, I loved the job. I loved what I was doing, but it wasn't a job that allowed a good work-life balance or the ability to decrease stress. And so, things happen. I believe things happen for a reason. And through a series of events, I made a switch. And not only am I able to learn something new, but my stress decreased. And now I'm able to, I think I'm in a really good place in terms of work-life balance. I have 2 kids. One just is a freshman in college and one is a freshman in high school. They're both girls. And with the move and everything, there was a lot going on. So that's what's going really well for me right now.
Perfect. Thank you. Who do you tag?
How about Amanda?
Okay, so like you, I made a switch. So 2 years ago, I changed from one NIH institute to another. And I was in sort of a little haven of people like me, social scientists at NIH. And I moved into an institute that's all like basic scientists, except for, say, 2 of us. So, and I'm the senior of those 2. So what I feel really proud about is that I'm in a position where I have really unique expertise and a really unique viewpoint that's often completely different from the people around me and above me. And so what I feel proud about is that I'm navigating kind of being brave and sharing the unique expertise and viewpoint that I bring, just because of my background is completely different. Even when it's at odds or just completely different from those of my supervisor, her supervisor, et cetera. And that I'm sort of navigating this line of sharing what I have to offer and also recognizing that it's going to be sort of integrated and synthesized and used or not used sort of based on the leadership of the people above me and the environment around me, but feeling brave to contribute that difference.
Great.
Thank you. You tag somebody?
Okay, I'm tagging Beta.
Okay, I am going to look at my notes too. What is working well for me in my career, I can say it's been 2 years that I've been in this position. Actually, 2 years completed a few weeks ago. So I think I am doing very well at what I am doing, my responsibilities and the people who report to me. I have been able to win their trust and be able to work in a really, really good team. That's something which was very skeptical in the beginning for me, because I had to supervise my peers, and it's always difficult when you are in that position that you are one of them and now they have to report to you, and it was not easy. The first year definitely was not easy, but I think I have won their trust. I have been able to grade, even though just a few months ago, like not 10 months ago, one of the members of my team was changed, and I inherited one of the trouble kids of the group, of another group, and it's been working really well. I actually am very impressed how our relationship has worked, the 2 of us. We work very well together. I don't have anything to complain. So work is very well, but I cannot say, Jennifer, this is in comments to you, that I am very successful in balance of work and life. I used to exercise a lot, like crazy lot. And I have this ever since this COVID has started and me working from home. I constantly have excuses for myself. Oh, I'm sleepy, or I'm tired, and I will exercise later, maybe another in my next break. So that's something which I really need to get a hold of, because I think that's missing in my life. And if I be able to have that balance, I'll be a happier me. And I really want to be happy, and I'm not happy. I bought a Peloton and I don't use it. It's been sitting in the basement for months now. I ride outdoors, don't take me wrong, but I used to exercise 2 hours or more a day, and I don't do any of that anymore. So I need that balance back in my life. And I am going to tag Angela. And maybe I am frozen.
You're good.
All right, good morning. I really appreciate hearing from everybody and hearing how in some ways we have similar challenges and things that are going great, and then also differences. So I'm looking forward to hearing how you guys navigate different things. So I think for me, my career and work has been going well. I'm in a position that I've been in for a while, but that doesn't mean that it hasn't changed. So I've been in this position since the end of 2013. So a long time, but the responsibilities, the challenges, the work portfolio, and the people all around me have changed. And I think that on the one hand creates challenges for me because sometimes it feels like you're have to reinvent and bring people along on a journey, but also hear their perspective and have the journey go a little bit in a different direction. But I think it's also helped me in some ways create space, and certainly, COVID and max telework have created some space for work-life balance. But I guess I'm so mindful and in tune that people have really thought a lot about that and then shifted their lives to better meet where they wanted to be. And I think that's an important reminder for me, because I think sometimes I really get bogged down in the details of, how do I fix this or make it better rather than stepping back. So I like the way this session is sort of posited with stepping back and owning where I'm at. So I think the thing for me is, besides just work-life balance, also balancing and applying at the right times the self-compassion with accountability, right? So if I do want to make change, that's great. I should hold myself accountable. But I think sometimes I also don't, I can exercise the accountability of this isn't working right and I really need to fix this, but maybe connecting that better with when it's the right time to do the self-compassion and say, okay, let's stop, reassess where I'm at, and then also work on the accountability. So I would say those are some things that I'm aware of, but in general, the career is great. I'm creating new relationships with the people on my team, but also the leadership, because my leadership and supervisor recently turned over. They're recruiting for the new executive. So I'll get to create a new relationship with that person too. And Megan, over to you.
Thanks, Angela. Okay, so what's going well? I am doing the work I had hoped to be doing since college. So I feel very comfortable in that respect. Like, I am knowledgeable in my field. I have a lot of relationships so that I can rely on to get work done or questions answered or feedback or gut checks. So so that's going well. When it comes to the actual work part, I feel very comfortable and knowledgeable in that part. I've been in this role for a few years. I've been at FTA for almost 12, so I know the business side of the agency, and I can usually direct. I'm trying to empower my staff to start taking more ownership and take on more tasks, so I can usually direct them to the right people to get more information, and just trying to push them out of the nest a little bit more.
I want to, first of all, just thank everybody for sharing everything. I also want to celebrate you, right? To have the kind of self-awareness that you have in doing the pre-work in this really opens up a large part to this discussion, because you took the time to put the spotlight or the lens on what's going really well And also to take a spot and say, well, these things aren't so great, but that's just the way it is right now. Brene Brown talks a lot about how things are just a little bit messy. And sometimes we have to be okay with the mess. In owning where we are, it really comes from 3 questions. What's working well? What did I learn? And what do I want to do differently next time? Now, those 3 questions come from a wonderful book called With Winning in Mind by Lanny Basham. Lanny is spelled Lanny, and Basham is Bassham. I've had the privilege and the honor of attending a seminar with Lanny and having an opportunity to work with his daughter because they are mental performance coaches. So the example I love sharing when we talk about ownership is from Lanny when he was in the Olympics. So he competed in the 50-meter mixed rifle event in the 1968 and the 1972 Olympics. It's one of those events, they oftentimes refer to them as shooting sports. The 50-meter mixed is one of those rare events in the Olympics where both men and women compete at the same time. And so in 68, Lanny got the silver medal. And while that was great, he wasn't completely satisfied. He felt like he still had a little bit more to do. And so he created a program called Mental Management that grounded itself in these 3 questions. What did I do well? What did I learn? What would I do differently next time? And in that, it helped shape every time he trained and every time he competed. In 1972, when he went back to the Olympics, he and Margaret Murdoch tied for the gold medal. And due to the rules of the competition and in the Olympics, and it's too complicated to go into, right? But due to the rules, the judges said, Lanny, you get the gold, Meredith, you get the silver. And he went to the judges and he said, can you give us both the gold medal? And they said no. So to own where he was, when they played I always get choked up with this, excuse me. When they played the national anthem, Lanny extended his hand to Margaret and pulled her up on the podium with him. That was how he showed up. That was owning his role in that moment for his value, his purpose, his passion, what he believed in. That was just something Lanny did. He didn't do anything that was out of character for him. And in talking with Cheryl, she has shared that part of her work is doing a lot of values work with her clients. And so in thinking about that, and you think about the values that you go and you emulate every single day, it is the consistency in how you honor those values that is a big piece of how you show up. So in thinking about the ownership, think about how you run your team meetings, you interact with your colleagues, you handle crises at work, you deal with the difficult conversations. The ownership piece is what allows you to inform your decisions moving forward. And Angela, I want to call you out for a second because I loved how you said earlier, it is a balance between self-compassion and accountability. And what I loved about how you phrased that was that it's not enabling, right? If I want to sit on the couch at night and watch TV and have 3 scoops of ice cream because I had a really, really bad day, right? That's just owning where I'm at. I'm going to pay for that later. So Beta, I'm going to get on the Peloton and make sure I get my 30, 45 minutes in on that, right? It's not about enabling. It is the awareness for how we choose to show up and move from that point. Not everything is going to be great and going to be perfect, but our decisions get informed in the ownership.
Very well said, John. I just want to jump in for a second and just echo what you started off saying when you applauded everyone for recognizing where they are and owning that, and also recognizing what's working well. I think so often in life, we're in such a fast-paced world that we're quickly on to the next thing. We accomplish something, we get something goes well, and we don't take the time to really celebrate that and acknowledge. You know, Beta, when you mentioned getting this job 2 years ago and a lot of your staff were peers, I mean, that's a very difficult transition to become a supervisor to former peers. And while there's probably a plethora of things that can be complicated, just recognizing that immense, goal to have won that challenge and to show up in the way that you do and to be relatable to the staff is a great thing. And it's something that needs to be recognized. So I applaud, and all of you had really good points of things that you recognize. So let's look at the flip side for a second and what's not working well. And let's talk about that for a moment. So Megan, we're going to start with you this time since we've ended with you a couple of times. What is not working well for you right now?
Yeah, I mentioned it in my intro. I feel like I'm fighting constantly to have my office recognized or remembered as the environmental experts because people use a narrow lens and they don't always see the valuable connection to my office. They've seen us specifically as the National Environmental Policy Act shop for so long, but now we have a lot of opportunities under the Biden-Harris administration to do a lot more, and rightfully so under our umbrella. But I'm finding that other people really want a piece of the pie because this is like now these environmental topics are a sexy thing. So that's one thing that's not going well, is just getting my foot in the door or getting a piece of the action. Like I feel like I'm reacting a lot more than I would like to be. I'd like to be more proactive in owning more of the activities. And then I'll just echo kind of what Beta said earlier with not exercising. Before COVID, I ensured I exercised, and maybe it was because I was physically going to the office some days a week. And so I really valued my time home. And now if I can sleep in just a little bit longer, I'm really happy to do that. So okay, so I will tag Jennifer.
Okay, I'm really bummed. I really want to see the puppy. Sounds so cute. He's just trying to show up.
Yeah. It really is, and I will do my best to be on video next time.
Okay. I have two as well, so I've got one here right next to me. So I pulled up my worksheet that I did, and what is not working well right now. I'm not challenged, and although I have a great work-life balance, I'm not fulfilled, and I need doors to open so that I can be challenged professionally. I think personally, I'm good. I can challenge myself in personal ways, and I am doing that. But professionally, I'm in a little bit of a rut right now, and I just need to have a chance. So that's about it for me.
Who do you tag?
Oh, I'll tag Beta.
Okay, so I purposely avoided this question. I did not pick this as one of my questions, so I have to think about it now. What is not going well at work? One of the things that it jumps at me is lack of transparency between me and the people above, like the leadership of the office. And I think I've always struggled with that, and I'll always probably will struggle with it. I don't feel that there is enough transparency, and I am a very vocal person. I constantly get into trouble because I say what comes in my brain, and I don't pause to think about it. And I would like to see, I don't want people to have hidden agendas, and I want transparency, period. And that's not there. And I will tag, did I tag you, Amanda, ever? Or maybe have you, okay.
I might be the last one, actually. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
Angela.
So Beta, I'm really glad you went before me, because I have something similar, actually. So, I talked about how I feel like what I'm doing well is that I'm being brave, like sharing a difference of opinion. But what's challenging for me often is like a void in information about like what people above me may think. And so like when you said transparency, for me, I wrote my challenge is ambiguity aversion. So again, this is a social science concept. Ambiguity is when there's lack of information and it makes you anxious because you don't know. So like I actually wrote down my problem is the anxiety about it, that I kind of just have to let go. But actually I realized I probably can fix it by creating opportunities to talk to people, because the people who I don't have information from are the people who are in meetings like 8 to 6 many days. And they like this, the problem is their emails are like one sentence or like 3 words, send. And I'm like, what? I do not know. Like, I have no idea where to go from here. And I'm realizing, and makes me really anxious, but I'm realizing, getting 15 minutes on someone's calendar may solve my problem, because I think for me, the problem really is that we are in a very fast-paced center. It's very different from where I was before, and people don't have time to take a breath and think and talk with you about things. And the only way to learn what other people are thinking is to get on their calendar. And of course, I think being at home, Zoom makes it worse.
Angela, I think you're
okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think I can connect with the challenges that others are facing. And so I think that's really helpful for me to think about, to sort of even refine kind of what my challenges are. So I know we've mentioned it earlier, but for me, it's to resist being transactional, or being some of the, the other half of the challenging relationships that you guys, that everyone described. So, and that Cheryl and John described. So taking the time to celebrate and recognize, and not to be transactional, because obviously people on my team need different things from me, and I need to provide different things to my leadership team and other people in the organization. But that can lead me to describing or feeling successful by completing the task or completing the item that person needs. And so what that does, if I'm just looking to check things off my list, is it doesn't step back, it doesn't look at the whole picture, and it becomes very transactional for me. And so one of the challenges or places where I need to do better is connecting with others, and sort of working on, being not just transparent, but sort of open and honest and connecting with other people across the organization, whether they're on my team or in different offices, so that I'm not showing up or creating that, reinforcing that transactional relationship that, today I met with Angela and here's what we transacted or accomplished, but to move forward and to show up as a partner by setting the stage and being reflective about those other things. So I'd say that's one thing that's, professionally not going quite as well as, when I'm jumping in and out, I'm not really present, and it can be really transactional.
So thank you, everybody. So with those challenges that you just shared in regards to owning where you are, on your piece of paper in front of you or on your screen, wherever you have it, I want you to give it a number. And that number is from 1 to 10, where 1 is, this isn't really a big challenge, versus 10, which is, I got to put out the fire on this. And I want you to give yourself, I want you to give your particular challenge that you just shared with Cheryl and me a number. And you're not going to share it with us. Just go ahead and put the number down.
I'm sorry, somebody was calling my office and I
Sure.
did not hear your last sentence.
Oh yeah, no, thank you for asking that. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is not at all and 10 is I'm putting out the fire now, rank or rate where your particular challenge is on that spectrum. Everybody got a number? Okay. That number is yours and it's important. There is no judgment, no criticism, no evaluation in any way, shape, or form, other than the fact that on your continuum, that's where you see that challenge to be. Now, the question becomes, how important is it for you to address it? In thinking about whether or not you want to address it, and if so, how you are going to address it, is what determines the action you choose to take on it. So, for example, Jennifer, if I may, right? I loved, it's so common, right? That, and important when you shared how, sometimes we get to a place in our career where we don't feel challenged, we don't feel motivated, right? And so in that, if you wanted to make a change, if you wanted to find a pathway, to have a conversation, to take a particular action, to help you feel a little more motivated to get out of that rut, we're going to use that same scale, 1 to 10. Now, what do you want to do about it, right? Where's the motivation for action in saying to yourself, okay, if I'm feeling stuck, here's how important it is for me right now. It all has to do with bandwidth, right? In music, we call it a recitative. It's when the music pauses and the orchestra and the conductor just stop and the audience gets to hear the silence. Sometimes we may need a recitative. Sometimes we need to go really fast and go at it. So the number that all of you then place next is really about how important it is for you to address that particular challenge right now. It does not have to be a 10. It does not have to be a 1. It is entirely where you are at in this moment. And the segue or the bridge here is to identify if really whether or not that is an opportunity for you to welcome, to say, I'm going to give this the time, effort, and the energy to devote to this, to shift this and take some action to see if I can impact this in some way, shape, or form.
John, could I ask a question real quick?
Of course.
So I think I had part 2 in my head when I picked the number for part 1.
Okay.
So I want to make sure that I'm differentiating the two, because I think I might have been thinking more holistically when I chose my number and kind of accounted for that.
It's
Does that
okay
make
if they're
sense?
it's okay if they're both the same. It's
Okay.
okay in that regard, right? Sometimes people do. Sometimes people do think of it pretty holistically, and there's nothing that's totally okay, right? Right. Sometimes what I have seen happen in my work is that we'll do that piece and they'll go, yeah, you know what? I got too much going on. I'm not having that conversation with my boss right now. Or, you know what? I've got kids at home. They're virtually learning. I'm trying to get my work done. The dog's barking. I'm doing the best I can at this point. Like it is all about like where is the action in that moment? And it's absolutely okay if both numbers are the same. And it's okay if they're not. Does that make sense? Okay, Cheryl.
Jennifer, just let me interrupt for a second. Was your question more around you weren't sure what the question was for the first ranking, or was it that just that you had rated them the same?
Sorry, mastering that mute sometimes is the most difficult thing of the day.
Owning where you are.
Well, with what John just said, it became more crystal clear of how these numbers actually are going to be different. Because when he was first describing it, I was like, oh, they're going to be the same. But then with what he just clarified, with the person saying, no, I got stuff going on, and this is why the number is going to be different. And
Okay.
so that was a good clarification.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
John, sorry to have interrupted
No.
you.
That's absolutely perfect. So I think we're in a good spot to segue the conversation a little bit, because we do only have so much time, and we want to address the next strategy, which was welcoming new opportunities. And do you want to go ahead and kick that part off? Yeah.
Kick that off. I just want to make a comment before we leave where we are right now about owning where you are. And it's really interesting. And I always love this type of setting where you hear from everyone and you really witness that we're not alone in what we're experiencing, right? Hearing other like-minded people who are experiencing some of the same things as us. And I think it's interesting when, Jennifer, you're talking about not feeling as fulfilled right now, but yet you have the work-life balance. You have a lot of the things right now in your job that really make your life so much easier, but you're not really feeling fulfilled. And then we're hearing from others that they like their job and they like what they're doing, but they're lacking the bandwidth. And so it's always that kind of yin and yang, trying to balance what you have in front of you. And it's hard to kind of wrap it up and have it all. But I think it's really important for all of us to hear each other and where we are and what everyone is going through. It just makes it a little bit easier and moving on. I just wanted to mention that. So the next part of what we're going to talk about today is welcoming new opportunities. And this is so important because it really comes down to us and how we view what's in front of us. And so part of your pre-work was a lot of work around what kind of risk taker you are. And that was very intentional, because if we're very risk adverse, sometimes we want to play it safe, right? And that may get in our way of stepping into greatness and looking at some of the opportunities in front of us. So I think when we look at this process, it's really important to stop for a moment and listen. And when I say stop and listen, really listen to ourselves, because we have this inner voice, and this inner voice is talking to us. And I don't mean that critical inner voice like the gremlin, not that voice, but the inner voice that is, maybe encouraging you to go forward. Balancing that risk tolerance with that, and recognizing that risk tolerance, but trusting that inner voice that's talking to you about perhaps going forward and taking that leap and taking that chance. So that's really important to be in tune with that. And I think a lot of times we don't listen to it. We hear it, it's talking to us, but we kind of ignore it. So I think that's really important. The next thing I would say around that is, once you hear it, it's really key to be courageous and to try and lean in and step into it. And, like Brene Brown is always talking about being courageous and making these moves and these steps. So really looking at that and being courageous and stepping into it, and then fully committing to what it is you're going to do around it. So sometimes we've talked about the gift of reframing before, and sometimes it's all in how we view something. And so let's face it, in life, sometimes things don't always go the way we want them to. And there may be, disappointments, and you may feel discouraged. Where's the opportunity in that? We don't really see it in that moment. Being able to reframe the situation and really see, what's the opportunities? I mean, how many times have probably all of us, we've been turned down for a job, for example, a job that we might have really wanted, or we might have been in a job that didn't work out in the way that we had hoped. And in that moment, we feel very discouraged, and we don't really look at this as an opportunity, but there is an opportunity there. So it's, when we talk about welcoming new opportunities, kind of in a lot of ways relates back to owning where you are. So because you really have to take a close look and as I said, listen and go through that whole process and see how you can reframe in the moment. So I wanted to flip this around a little bit and ask some of you what, when you look at welcoming new opportunities as compared to what kind of risk taker you are. I would like some discussion around when you did that exercise and when you were going through it, what kind of thoughts were going through your mind, and do you really feel that where you are with the risk taking, is it impacting how you view welcoming new opportunities? So, Angela, would you start that conversation off for us, please?
Sure. So I think, I guess for self-reflection, I'm not sure this is exactly where I need to be focused to provide everyone an opportunity to really get to the point here. So I would say I am not, I don't consider myself to be a risk taker. And that would be one area where I think I need to be more thoughtful. I think, I stick with the organization and the colleagues I know, and I'm comfortable with my role. And so I think I need to, feel successful and accomplish what I need to in my job, but maybe take on some different roles or challenges. And I think one thing I also need to be mindful of is, I talked about people around me, that, not that roles and responsibilities change. Certainly, I think, everyone here is in the government, and things change, right? So priorities change, programs change. You get into a different place in terms of implementation versus framing, and the teams and groups around you change. So I think for me, part of sort of not being, worn out and looking at things positively and looking at my motivation is flipping okay, I need to create or generate a new team around this, but looking at more opportunities for me to create that new team and pivot and work with new people. So I think, I don't know, in general, I guess I'm not a risk taker, and I need to think more about sort of why not, and what things could feel more like a risk, or could be more like a risk, in my current role.
I'm just, I know this is a little out of character here, but I'm just curious with what you just described, how much do you think this impacts you, looking at new opportunities, because you're not much of a risk taker, as you put it? Do you think it's getting in your way?
So I do think that it is getting in my way, but also more importantly, it's also it's taking away from my motivation, right? Which sort of then also is like, well, if I'm not motivated to be here, or not really seeing kind of what's the next thing in my current role, then I think that also influences how I show up with other people, and also my energy level. So I think, it's kind of a kernel, or sort of at the core of the whole picture about how I show up. Because I think risk taking can actually contribute to sort of the overall joy, like the purpose. Why am I here? What am I getting out of it? Why is this an important aspect of my life? Whether that's a professional challenge, or just kind of creating new opportunities where I'm at. Or, if it's time for an honest conversation about why am I here, and what else would I be motivated to do, and going to a different position. But I think that it's, to be fulfilled and to be motivated, I don't need to leave my position. I need to, this is my concept, to figure out, where I'm at, and creating that motivation and happiness. But I think risk taking creates an opportunity for a new challenge, or a new way of looking at things. So I'm sort of combining all those when I think about, am I a risk taker? And what are the opportunities for me to take a risk? It doesn't need to be a career change for me, or a job change for me. I think that if I could answer those questions where I'm at, I would be better positioned, even if I were to take on a different role, or do something else. It's kind of an interesting environment. Obviously, it seemed like the job market didn't turn over so much a year ago, but we have lots of people moving around. I think that's not just our organization or the federal government. It's kind of nice to see people moving into different roles, and new people joining the team.
Excellent. Thanks, Angela. Who do you tag?
I tag Megan.
Okay. Well, when I went through the exercise, I boiled it down to, I feel like I'm a calculated risk taker. Like, I'm not going to go out and do something crazy, I have to have some comfort there's going to be some success. And I think my frustration is sometimes when other people around me aren't willing to take any risks. I mean, I know my career is federal government, but I really hate bureaucratic thinking. And so that's like one of the big frustrations I sometimes have, because I'm like, can't you just take the risk? Can't we just try it this other way, please? So where I can, like where I feel like I have enough control and enough say and enough information to back me up, then I'll take the risk. I see like reframing risk as an opportunity. I feel like right now there are a lot of opportunities just with the changing administration. So my challenge is actually getting my foot into those opportunities, but also figuring out which ones make the most sense. So like there are some teams I'm on, but like it's not the best use of my time. So I'm not really owning it and stepping in, because I feel like there are other people who are better poised to run those initiatives. So that's like the balance that then I struggle with when it comes to those opportunities and really putting the focus where maybe it needs to be, because then I start to feel really spread thin. I will tag Amanda.
Hey, well, I've been really lucky at work because I was hired as in the startup of a new branch. So there was the branch chief and I was her first hire, and then we built up to 6 people in our first year. So I've had the opportunity to collaborate with my branch chief to develop a vision for the branch and start up new projects. So it's funny, I wrote for my definition of risk taker, somebody who decides to go for it and take the leap and sees the positive potential, and that like overrides the fear. So I think like we had the ability to do that, but I was thinking about conversations I've had with Cheryl that social support is what makes it possible, because my branch chief is so collaborative and open-minded. And our branch as a whole, we have like a really good kind of social fabric to the branch. And I feel like for me, that's so critical. Like when I think about taking risks in my personal life, I think like, well, I need that same kind of social support too. So yeah, I guess that's what I have to share on it. Jennifer go yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
So I am definitely a calculated risk taker, which, you know, the more I think about it, like, I guess it's not really called a risk when it's calculated to the extreme that I calculate. So I want to ensure success. So is it really a risk if you know you're going to succeed? I don't know. I just kind of questioned that as I was thinking about it. But I guess I'm willing to take the risk now in my career and socioeconomic situation in my life than I was, 20 years ago. So I think the way you look at risks and your willingness to take them and how large or small the risks are change as you progress in your career. And I think maybe that's part of the thing that I'm struggling with is the risks that I would need to take are really large risks right now versus tiny ones that were just, within my current job or something like that. It would be a major job change. And there's so many different components that go into it. So that's really, did I cover it, or Cheryl, did I miss a piece?
No, you covered it.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. You're driving, so I don't want you to, I'll tag Beta for you.
Okay, so I think I'm the last, right?
Yes.
So I think, or I would like to think that I'm a risk taker, and I am in many aspects, not only just work, in many aspects of life. And unless you don't take risk, you won't have the I mean, they come hand in hand. Opportunities bring risk, and change bring opportunities, or opportunities bring change. So you should be willing to accept one, to be able to get a better life or better opportunity and better fulfillment. Having said that, I feel I've reached the stage of my life that I have just a few more years left to work, and I'm looking at retirement. I hope I am looking at retirement soon. Why are you looking like that at me, Amanda?
You look so young.
No, soon to be 58. I have either 2 or 4 more years. I went through this with Cheryl many times.
That
Retirement.
was a very complimentary look of incredulity.
Anyway, so I hate to say this, that I am settling down in many aspects. I used to fight a lot in my office for opportunities. I used to want to have so many do different things at the same time, not only my job, but other things, and I believed in it. So and this is going to is recorded, so I don't know how much I can talk about it, but I have to say that I'm guilty of maybe just succumbing to the situation and not giving up, but just accepting and not wanting more, which is really not me, because I always want to have more and do more and create more opportunities, not only for me, for other people. So maybe that will change. Let's see. I mean, I don't know. Maybe my opinion of retirement will change too. So that's where I stand.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing that. I think it's all about know thyself, right? So recognizing where you are with risk, recognizing the comfort level. And it's funny, it changes as we age. I mean, I look at my younger self, and I was much more fearless about doing certain things. And as I have aged, you know, that changes. And Vida, when you talk about where you are right now, looking at retirement, your younger self, even though you look very young now too, but your younger self perceived and showed up differently because you had a much bigger horizon in front of you in terms of how long you were looking to work and where you wanted to be in the organization. Now that horizon looks like I have, you know, 2 or 4 more years till I get to play in Italy more often than not. It's different. So yeah, we're getting close to the end of our time, and I did want to go over a few things. John, did you want to say something before?
Yeah, if I could just jump in here real quickly. So in listening to all of you, what I loved hearing was this theme about being a calculated risk taker. Mm-hmm. And risk is often associated with there's a potential reward, and there's also a potential loss, right? And so calculated risk takers, when they think about opportunities, are always kind of weighing out, like, what's the risk? What's the reward? What am I going to get here? My challenge for you in this is to think about the opportunities that you can spot or identify that aren't necessarily others may think of as a huge risk, right? So as I was listening to you, I wrote down things like sending a direct message to somebody who you've been meaning to talk to just to start a conversation. Reach out to somebody on LinkedIn whom you don't know, but would love to pull them into your network. Walk into the grocery store and go down the cereal aisle first rather than the produce section, and just see what happens when you go to the market. Like we do that stuff all the time, where it's just like, let's change things up a little bit to see what can happen. So my challenge or my wish for you over the next week is really for you to just think about opportunities from and I love, Cheryl, how you said it about this gift of reframing, as just to reframe the opportunity maybe as something that isn't this huge risk in your mind, but just a little step just to welcome that new opportunity.
John, I think you're divulging all your secrets about going down the cereal aisle.
I'm here to
first.
serve. I am here to serve. Yes. You know, I'm not stupid. I don't go down the frozen food section and put the ice cream in the cart first, because then, you know, then I'll just eat it in the car on the way home.
I love that analogy though, because really what it comes down to is, you know, if you feel you're really risk adverse and you're contemplative or reticent about taking that leap, you know, start with something small, something that's fun, as John says, and just experience the thrill of it to help you get in that mindset of you know, welcoming new opportunities. Amanda, were you going to say something? You look like you. No, okay. All right. Well, everyone did an excellent job in participating fully today. So I really thank you for that. I'd like to ask everyone, we're going to do some housekeeping before letting you know about what will happen going forward. But before that, I just would like maybe a one-word response of what is your takeaway from today's session. And let me start with Amanda, because I don't think you started first yet.
Sure. Try a new way of doing things.
I didn't hear you.
Try a new way of doing things.
Okay.
Sorry, I think my Zoom is acting up.
Yeah. Do you want to tag somebody?
Oh, Megan.
Oh, shoot. I wasn't ready. I really liked having the worksheet so I could think ahead of time. Well, my takeaway is that I feel like this is going to be a really fun experience. I've really enjoyed this small group setting. I wasn't really sure what to expect, but I've really enjoyed this morning session.
Good.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Who do you tag?
Oh, Jennifer, is she still on?
Yep, I'm here. I would say like my one word takeaway is empowerment. Like I feel empowered, not just because like the words or the, you know, the walking down the cereal aisle, like, hey, I can like live on the edge now, but also because you guys are kind of in the same boat in different stages, but everybody's kind of in the same thing. We want to better ourselves. We want to challenge ourselves, but you know, we're holding down the job and the working mom thing. And so I just feel good that, you know, I'm not the only one with some of these challenges. I won't say issues because I tend to think of them in a positive way. But I'm empowered to kind of do something about it now. So that's me. How about Beta?
You stole my word. I was going to say, my takeaway is I'm not alone. I mean, it's interesting and it's lovely to see that there are other people who think like me, and we are sailing in the same boat. So that's my takeaway, and I'm looking forward to knowing you guys and learning more and being a better me. And I tag Angela.
All right, thank you, Beta. So I think I agree with the not alone. I really appreciated that everyone really reflected on the big picture, not kind of their job and how to move to another job. So I felt that I was kind of in the same place and can connect with a lot of it. I think for me, the one takeaway was kind of the last item of identify and take one risk. Maybe do something that normally you wouldn't, like make a connection, or look at a specific thing where you're like, well, I don't know what's holding me back there, but I just need to take a little step, not a huge step. So I think that's important to me. will help me where I'm at.
Great, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
So moving forward, we will be sending out another worksheet for our session next week pertaining to setting ground rules and having intentional conversations. And you should get that
Friday.
on Friday.
Mhm.
On Friday, so you will have weekend and 2 days next week to focus on that. Be mindful on the Facebook link. It was posted in chat. If you can copy that and join in.
If you have any problems getting into it, just let me or Cheryl know and we'll troubleshoot. But the settings on that should be that you can just request to join, and then we'll go in and approve you, and you'll be in there.
And the recording will be in there. And if there's, even though all of you were here, but there may be a certain part you may want to go back and listen to, you're welcome to do that as well. So we want to be respectful of your time. We're so thrilled that everybody showed up in such a positive way with lots of enthusiasm, and everyone really participated fully. And for that, we're so grateful, because it would not have been, as great as I think it has been, had you not, participated. So thank you. John, would you like to say a couple words? Or
just thanks, everybody. Really looking forward to the next 2 sessions with all of you, and any other additional thoughts, ahas, celebrations that you have. That's what the Facebook group is for. And make it a great rest of the day. Thanks for letting me be a part of this with you.
thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right,
Thank you.
bye.
Bye-bye.